This video is sponsored by Raycon earbuds and will begin right after a short message. Everyone needs a good, reliable pair of earbuds, especially these days. That's exactly why Raycon's newest pair of everyday E25 earbuds is so popular. With their all-new noise-isolating fit, coupled with their bass-boosting audio technology, it's crazy that they aren't more expensive than they are, coming in at just about half the price of well-known competitors. Their battery life lasts up to 6 hours at a time, and they even come with a charging case that holds up to 4 complete charges. Plus, they come in some really cool colors. If you're interested in getting a pair of your very own, perfect for listening to music or podcasts or working out or whatever you're into, click the link in the description below or go to www.buyraycon.com/MNB for a whopping 15% off your order. It's only around for a limited amount of time, so what are you waiting for? And now, on to the video. So summertime is here. Actually, it's nearly gone, but it's got me thinking about how much fun water is. Well, I suppose it's not quite as fun for people being drowned to death, but hey, at least they got to cool off a bit from this hot summer sun, am I right? But speaking of, death by water, back in the Wind Waker, spoiler alert, it's explained to us by the word of Daphnis Nahanson Hyrule, the last king of Hyrule, that the old Hyrule was flooded by the gods above when Ganon busted out of his seal, as he is known to do when he gets bored. Now, to be clear, this is the same Hyrule that our best boy, Hero of Time, saved as an adult. This Hyrule, to be specific. Heck, that's even a statue of him right there, and these are portraits of the sages from Ocarina of Time. And the gods, I guess not really knowing what else to do, saw Ganon and decided, screw it, flood him, and just killed everyone. This has for a long time been a very dark and confusing and weird part of Zelda lore that everyone begrudgingly accepts, since, after all, the king said that's what happened. The gods quite literally committed genocide when they've never done anything like that before or since, even though the world has faced potentially greater threats. I mean, yeah, some of the populace was instructed to flee to mountaintops, but you're kidding yourself if you think everybody made it to a mountaintop, especially with how tiny they're shown to be in-game. But that was then. Nowadays, Hyrule looks like this, with an alarming lack of flood water. It's kind of one of those elephant in the room types of questions that everyone's afraid to answer, since it's impossible to answer this without also making a statement as to which timeline Breath of the Wild sits in. And it's a very scary thing to talk about for sure, since the game references literally all timelines. But the reason why I'm focusing on the Great Flood is because that's really the only event catastrophic enough across the entirety of the history of Hyrule that left an impact big enough to absolutely be felt in every game following. Every game following in its own timeline, of course. You see, at the end of the Wind Waker, spoiler warning here again, by the way. In fact, just know that if you click on a theory video, there will be spoilers. Also, you should totally subscribe. That would be super cool because you're super cool. And I'd love it if you stuck around. Anyway, the Hyrule we know and love is washed away under a few million gallons of water, and the land of New Hyrule is established through discovery. All well and good, but here's the problem with that. The New Hyrule doesn't have the Temple of Time from Ocarina of Time. The New Hyrule doesn't have the Spring of Earth from Skyward Sword, or the Koroks, or Zora, or Hyrule Castle. Yeah, Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is pretty obviously not the New Hyrule established prior to Spirit Tracks. Now, of course, this is easily explained by simply saying Breath of the Wild doesn't take place in the adult timeline, right? I mean, if it took place in the Child or Fallen timelines, then there's no problem at all, because there's no flood, right? Well, yes, but also no. Unfortunately, due to the nature of Breath of the Wild, its placement within the Zelda timeline, as before mentioned, cannot ever perfectly fit in any one of the timelines, without also touching on the histories of the other timelines, even though you might be tempted to place Breath of the Wild in the Fallen timeline due to, several different reasons, like the appearances of Fallen timeline enemies such as Lynels, or the stripe in Link's hat if you're a MatPat fan. It's pretty hard then to explain why Zelda knows about the Twilight Realm from the Child timeline, or why the Zora aren't mindless monsters like they always are in the Fallen timeline. And above all that stuff, some really hard obstacles to tackle are the existences of the Koroks and Rito, who both only ever appeared in the adult timeline, never in any of the others, unless you count this sculpted piece here from Twilight Princess, but I digress. The biggest call out to the whole "hey, this place used to be flooded" concept is the appearance of the rock salt found all over the land of Hyrule. Emphasis on all over the land of Hyrule, not like from what used to be a sea sea down in the Gerudo area. No, there is literally rock salt found in every biome that has descriptive text that reads that it was left there by the, quote, ancient sea. The ancient sea. All over Hyrule. You see, finding stuff like this in real life is pretty normal, but anybody who knows even elementary level knowledge of mineral placements understands that salt isn't found just anywhere. Especially not on the side of a freaking mountain, for instance. No, the most common reason for finding salt just out in the middle of nowhere in real life is due to the evaporation of what was once standing saltwater. Standing saltwater. Guys, so far this video is barely even a theory. There's just no way around it. But I've read comments over the past 3 years that claim that the sea salt being present in every climate around Hyrule is somehow actually not indicative of there being a sea that placed the salt there, even though it literally says so in the flavor text for rock salt. Talk about swimming in denial, am I right? But that's really only half of what I wanted to talk about in this video. The fact that I believe there's no way that this very Hyrule and these very fields were not once completely underwater. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is, doesn't that solidify its adult timeline placement? How do we get around that? The flood only happened in the adult timeline, and even more than that, in the games following the flood, civilization left Hyrule, gone to the new Hyrule. Nobody lived in regular old watery Hyrule except for, I don't know, probably one of those freaky Japanese spider crab things that walk on the bottom of the ocean. Ugh. So the question is twofold. If this is post-flood Hyrule, how did the waters drain and why did it become civilized once again? To be honest with you, Breath of the Wild gives us no hint or clue that would help our questions here, except for one thing: the map. Have you ever thought it was a little weird that Hyrule seems to be kinda surrounded by a giant basin? Like a huge moat almost. Pretty peculiar if you ask me. Game design to limit players' adventure space is one thing, but making a giant valley bordering the northern and western sides of Hyrule as opposed to just implementing an invisible wall like there is in Gerudo Desert makes me think this is actually more deliberate. And when you take a look at the weird dam-like rock wall structure located in the northeastern corner of the map, it really starts to look, well, carved. Like someone came back here, dove deep under the Great Sea, located the old Hyrule, and found a way to drain the waters from its buried surface. Whatever happened, and whoever did it, took place well over 10,000 years ago. So it's no wonder that there's a lot of weathering and wear and tear that's occurred since then. You know, a cool thing to think about is the fact that we know Ganon resurrected after the events of the Wind Waker since he's here now, but when we last saw him, he was at the bottom of the ocean, in Old Hyrule. I mean, what if he's the one that somehow surfaced Hyrule once again? Since we know that's all he really wanted in the Wind Waker, what if he either by using his powers or his minions or both resurfaced the old Hyrule and somehow was able to influence the populace of the world to create a civilization here once more? What if this is all his doing because at the end of the day, he still wants the same thing? He wants the land of Hyrule, Old Hyrule, his Hyrule, and the stubborn, undying demon that he is literally pulled it from the depths to reclaim what is unrightfully his. Gotta admit, it does sound pretty cool. Oh, and about the timeline placement, I'm not saying it is solidified in the adult timeline, but what I am saying is that it can't not be, you know, just to be confusing. But I don't want to turn this into an official Breath of the Wild timeline placement theory, so I'm actually going to stop it right there. But if you would like me to theorize on where Breath of the Wild might take place in the timeline, and add my theory to the rather lengthy list of already existing placement theories, or if you have a theory, let me know in the comments below. Also, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider dropping a like to spread this video to other fans like you and me, and subscribe to stick around for the next one. This one was kind of a half theory, half ramble video that, I don't know, I kind of really enjoyed making. Huge thanks as always to my fantastic supporters, of which I have a name to welcome. Say hello to Fusion Gamers, who decided to join up with my channel and help make the next video come true by clicking that join button right here on YouTube. Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy your benefits. And if you watching are interested, feel free to check out the join button or the links in the description below to find out how. Also down there are my links to social media. That was your cue to follow me on Twitter. For real though, come say hi. That's all I've got for this one, so as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is MaskedNintendoBandit signing out. Peace!